Okay. So, sure. No, there was probably a time long ago in a galaxy far away where that actually was the case. But I think these days, again, you know, there's a younger dynamic crowd within Microsoft that aren't rooted in DoD security, if you understand what I'm saying. I think that's what the problem is. When people begin to realize that security is not about DoD standards, and it's actually about more modern stuff, then people begin to realize that it's just bugs, let's fix it. A lot of Microsoft actually treat a bug these days as a company resource as well, something that is of value to the company because they can learn from it, you know? Rather than denying their issues, as I said, they treat it as a good company resource. Okay, so. What
kind of traction are you getting on informant busting?
Sorry?
What kind of traction are you getting on informant busting?
Very good. The guy I communicate with is a guy called Jonathan Leffler. As I said, he's been extremely responsive. Yeah, and I mean, I recently published some flaws in AIX. Shiva Persaud, you know, on the IBM side, he again really responsive. You know, there was no confrontation. Then there was Scott Logan on the DB2 side from IBM. Again, really good. They've got a really good culture there, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so this here is the exploit code. Doesn't do much. I coded it very simply last night. It's coded for you know, this system because it's using hard code. You can't see it. Oh, sorry, over there. No, you don't need to move. Suffice to say that all the exploit code. Oh, that's still not. I know. Right. Is it gone? Is it still there? Sorry. Tell me when it's back. Sorry. Is it that? Right. Woo! Okay. What the exploit code does basically is takes a string. Is it? Sorry? Yeah, I know. Forget that. Right. We don't need to see too much on here. So I'll bring up a command window, because that's what we're going to be looking at essentially. So I'll just keep everything slightly to the right so you can see what needs to be seen. Was that what you were saying, yeah? That half of it's being chopped off?
We don't see that.
Oh, no, you don't need to see that anymore. Basically, I'm going to be running the commands from there. Sorry. So, yeah, this is the Infomix server. So I want to, you know, like show you what's going on. So, net user. Let me delete net user itest because that /del net user. Okay, so basically what the code I'm going to fire off to exploit the buffer overflow vulnerability in the authentication procedure is I take a string, XOR it with OXCC to get my command out, which is just going to be net user I space /add, and pass that as a parameter to the system function. And Bob's your uncle, that should go ahead and create the, let me just ping the thing, see if we've got the connectivity I require. 168.1.101. No. (102). Sorry, just give us a sec. Is always Intel Pro. No, cancel. Sorry, nearly there. Looking good? Right, we're in business. So, as I said, all I'm going to do is basically exploit that buffer overflow vulnerability on the Infamix server to create a user called I, basically. So ifx2 192.168.1.101. Do I need the port? Yes, 1526. So this is basically connecting, sending the exploit, create user I with password I. User I should now exist, you may log in. Let me just do a net user. So there we can see the user I has been created. So now we've got access to this system. The exploit is pretty turdy because I don't clean up after myself and the server crashes. A real exploit, of course, would make sure we recover gracefully and can go ahead and log in. So I've just restarted the server. The next job basically is to show you if I connect and do a create database. But where are we? Again, it's unfortunate the screens are so far apart and not angled, because it would be much nicer to be able to see everything, what I'm doing on the client side to attack versus that. So I'm actually running the DB access utility, which is an Infamix supplied util basically to connect to the database. OL Apollo is the one in question. The username is I, password is I. It's then waiting to connect. Now connected, select the sysmaster database, and that's me done. I can then issue a query, so I would do create database BlackHat. And then run that query, and it says database created. Again, you guys can't see that over there. But if I now use that as a database, exit from there, select the database. We have BlackHat, for those that can see it on this side, BlackHat as a database. And now if we do a select star from sysusers, escape and run, we can see username I is a user type D, which says we're a DBA, essentially. And I know you guys can't see it over there, but what's just about to happen shortly over here is much more interesting. What I'm going to do is create a library on my system here, a DLL, then I'm going to upload it onto that server over there and dump it from the disk and so on. So the code basically is going into DLL main, notepad, what am I calling it? Loadme.c. So there's the code for, I wish I could turn that thing. Hey guys, there's the code. And I compile that cl/ld loadme.c. Then using I'm going to use a tool called Advanced Query Tool, a very good tool by the way, to connect to the remote server, which is I sign on.
Can I reproduce what you're doing on a Unix box though?
Yeah, you can absolutely do this, yeah.
So Informix has to run as root on a Unix box?
No, it doesn't have to run as root, but it runs as the Infamix user. But so many of the binaries are set UID root that it's trivial to gain root from Infamix. There's, on Infamix running on Linux, there is the SQLi debug environment variable, which basically, when a shared object reads that environment variable, it causes stack-based buffer overflow. And because every binary loads that library, including the set UID root ones, we can trivially gain root privileges that way, basically. Like on mode, for example, is set UID root. And we just run that, and Bob's your uncle, your root. So this is me now connected over here. What I'm doing is going to create the table, a temporary table called DLL table. Now, if I put farm on running in the background here on the on-init process, did that execute okay? Number of rows affected, good. So I'm loading the DLL from my system using the file to club function to transfer over the network the DLL into this table. So I hit fire, that goes off to the Infomix server. I can then dump that to the disk. So if I fire that now, you should see it creates a file called loadmeout.dll and then a hexadecimal number. So, see, I know let me see if I can increase the font size. No, it doesn't look like so. But suffice to say that is what you're seeing there in farmon is the loadme.dll being written to the disk. Now the thing is, if we now want to load this into the address space of Infomix, there is another step we have to go to, because unless the file attributes are read-only, Infomix will refuse to load the library. Remember, we're going to use the ifx load internal function to load it. If the attributes aren't read-only, then the server will refuse to do it. So I'm going to inject into the setDebug file command. I'm going to run the attrib command to set the read-only attribute on that DLL. So we can then go ahead and load it into the address space. So if I play that. Let's have a look. dir load me DLL attrib load. So the read-only attribute has now been set on there. Now that's been done, we can go ahead and replace the module, which will then load it into the address space of the on-init process, execute the code within DLL main, which basically does net user itest add net local group administrators itest /add, so we create an administrative account and fire that off. Sorry, I forgot to cut and paste the name of the DLL it creates, so let me just do that one more time. Control V. Load me out 2, let's call it. Play. Okay, edit, copy.